morning, colleagues and guests. Thank you for being here on a Saturday morning. It's a pleasure for me to be here representing the ILO with, as Shireen mentioned, excuses from our director, Eric Ochelin. I'd like to thank ERF's team and our team for making this happen at the end of this year. And I mean, it's the end of the year, but it's also a beginning for a closer collaboration with the ERF. We've been collaborating before with the ERF on a number of occasions, but this inaugurates a closer partnership that we are looking forward for the next 4 years at least. Jobs and growth is a key priority, obviously, for the region, and it's one that exceeds the remit of what we normally do with ministries of labor and employment, our most direct counterparts. It's really a whole of government job. So a good understanding of labor market dynamics is only a starting point, and the discussion around policy trade-offs and priorities needs to be broad and beyond labor economics. Once these challenges in the labor market are identified, possible solutions and implications need to be appraised from different policy angles and knowledge angles. We believe the discussion needs to be also very much localized to what is true for North African countries as far as the metrics and as far as the interpretations and implications of these metrics. Without going into Raghi's paper, which he will be presenting after me, we often take the unemployment rate as the leading indicator of everything that is labor and employment, while the unemployment rate means something in formal, highly protected labor markets, and it means something completely different in countries with larger informality and limited social protection systems. So the metrics need to be appraised and localized as much as the policy playbook that can be derived from there, and policies that work for high-income countries may not be such a good idea ultimately for countries with dynamic demographics and different sets of challenges. So this is why we believe the ILO should be participating to and promoting such a dialogue beyond what is our comfort zone of labor economics and mandates of ministries of employment and labor, and broaden the discussion to interact with the other fields and the other policy areas. And this is why we are glad and to be able to partner with the ERF and with this group of experts to try and network and broaden this dialogue. Just to say also this work and recognize the Swedish cooperation that is funding this work for the next 4 years. I will be then explaining what is the initial work plan that we have before us, where this network is expected to contribute. Thank you all again for being here, and I'm looking forward to a fruitful discussion. Thank you. So I will now turn to the presentation, right? So as you see, it's a brief one, and the objective is not to define what is the research agenda. This is our collective role. So I will start with a short problematic, as many of us here are also francophones. And to recall the recent history of the region with the Arab Spring, which happened to happen after a decade of pretty high growth in North Africa. And you know, at the time, 2009-10, for most onlookers, most reports that were coming out, the outlook was quite positive. All indicators were in the green. Unemployment had come down together with government debt and inflation. Yet the Arab Spring happened. So that is, to me, something we need to learn from. Unemployment and growth rates do not tell all or most of what needs to be seen, and indeed sometimes they can be misleading. The other element is that growth does not automatically improve labor markets, including access to jobs, wages, working conditions, and as in Shireen's introduction, there is such thing as jobless growth. So I'm trying here to break down the issue with some key questions, and again, this is not to direct or frame the research agenda itself. Is just for us to perhaps see these questions and keep them in the back of our minds as we proceed in the discussions today. So that is more from the policy angle, that improving business regulatory environments while ensuring monetary and fiscal stability isn't sufficient for economies to reach productive potential, in particular in ensuring strong labor markets. So what else or different needs to be considered for economies to reach potential and make good use of their workforce? The first point that I've indicated there is on the role of the state. So there is arguably in North Africa a legacy of large states, yet there are also signs of the states not playing their role in many important respects, especially, I would say, on industrial development, but also on issues of inequality and protection. In many North African countries, there are pretty large public investment portfolios. There have been pretty complex fiscal incentives being put in place. Yet, in many cases, we see productivity being stable or flat. So why aren't these setups contributing more to productivity? The third point I indicated is on FDI, which is a major policy target for countries here, with generous tax deductions put in place. Some would say too generous. On the other hand, what perhaps is not so much in the radar screen is domestic financing, that when you look at the books of commercial banks, it's mostly housing and some household consumption, but there is little investment in the productive sectors of the economy. So, and the fourth point there is on educational attainment. That is well known that it has progressed quickly in North Africa, and but at the same time, graduate unemployment has also progressed quite quickly. So what is behind educational attainment? Issues of quality and relevance of education. I put there also the question of education can precede growth, in terms of it can develop the skills that are needed for a country to grow. So higher educational attainment is seen as contributing to future growth. At the same time, it can also go too far and not respond to what would be the economic needs that are actually needed at a point in time. So these were, trying to unpack what are the big issues we see from the policy side for the region, and I'm going to end here just to present what is the work plan that we have before us in the coming 4 years at least, in this partnership with the ERF. So we are planning to hold regional conferences every year on jobs and growth, broadening this group to also include policymakers and other stakeholders, and these conferences would be the opportunity to discuss an annual regional report on jobs and growth, which at least in our minds, and we can discuss this, would monitor what the actual trends on the labor side, but also on the real economy side are in North Africa on the basis of some meaningful relevant indicators. And the first part of the discussion on meaningful and relevant indicators starts today. And then there would be more detailed research papers that would be called for around some key issues that would need to be identified. Yeah, so this is the planned work before us. I think I am closing with this. Thank you very much.